Mark, obviously it's been a week or so, or 2 weeks since the season ended. At this point, what sort of are the things that you guys are working on in terms of planning off-season priorities and things you know you want to get done in the next few months?
Yeah, we had a really productive 2.5 weeks so far, probably the most productive that we had since I've been here. The staff that we have and the different areas that they all work in, we've really hit it hard. And the first priority was to have conversations with individual players once the game finished, and trying to give them a couple of days to get their bodies and minds right before connecting. And everyone shoots off pretty fast. You go from absolute chaos and intense schedule to people disappearing. So it's miss the group, miss the players, miss getting after it every day, of course. And I'm sure they're the opposite. I think they're glad to have a break from us and the terrible jokes that we try and share each day. Getting the players out and having an understanding and feeling of where they're currently at before they leave was important. We've then spent 2 intense weeks of evaluating the team's performance over 2018 in loads of different ways. We set targets before the season when we evaluated 17, so we're going through that same process. When I said we've done our best work, I think the collection of staff that we now have, the different areas that we can look, the subjective and the objective ways to analyse the team. And yeah, there's some real positives that we probably weren't aware of once we finished this. We finished it yesterday. And then there was some areas that we felt we knew were coming, some weaknesses, some places that we've not been average or poor at before we were, or we wanted to improve, didn't quite improve as much. More positive than negative, but I think what gives us answers to is where we start our evaluation of individual players and also target players. Also predicting what we think the league's going to be. There was a bit of a change, I think, from 17 to 18, a positive change. More teams trying to play a bit more, because it used to be that 13 up to 15, 16, 17 became a very direct and limited playing. That's why probably the teams that tried to play and committed to playing 100% struggled during those years. Last year started to swing back a little bit. So productive 2.5 weeks. We're now actually reconnecting with individuals. That started today. Now they've had a couple of weeks. Connect with them and start talking about their individual development plans for the off season. And this is critical time for us. We had a short off season last off season. We also, after coming off a win, felt it was important to give them more of a mental break than anything. This off season is obviously the opposite. We have a longer off season. They have more time to work on themselves. And secondly, we fell short of the main target. And the hunger and desire as an organisation, staff and players will be stronger than ever as a result of that.
From the discussions and the analysis, have you guys made any positional targets, positional needs that you feel like you need to address in the off season?
I think we're getting there. I think another 2 weeks we'll have a very clear vision of what that looks like. The technical staff are pretty close to finishing our step. Then the next step is to sit down with the general manager and then also sharing that vision with our wonderful owner and going through all the steps that we need to do. So we're getting close, and as always, it's a very collaborative effort, and fortunate of having a general manager that we do. That technical staff sometimes can sit a little bit too close to the picture and drive themselves nuts trying to find a way to improve by 1% or 5%. What he does really well is always brings us back to what our team principles are, our identity, and also the types of players and character of players that we want here. So we're close. The short answer is no, not specifically, and we're getting closer and excited to understand that picture so we can get to work.
So no specific positions you can mention at this point that you might be going over. In terms of the World Cup, how does that play into coming next year, play into the decisions you're going to have to make in the off season?
Yeah, I mean, it came into when we recruited or brought players in for 18. It impacted, looking ahead at 19, knowing the World Cup is there. Yeah, of course. We're trying to understand right now, well, we have the last 6 months trying to understand what the federations, the different countries, European countries, North American countries, and also what the US women's national team, what they'll do and their player availability will be. I think we've got to prepare for the worst, but we'll probably have those answers soon on what games, how many games they'll be in for and will miss. In 15, I went through this what you would expect to be a similar year, where the US are away a bit longer than other players, other national team players, and how you plan for kind of three types of players: someone who's going to be available all season, someone's going to be available for a large period of the season, and then a short period, and trying to get that balance right. And yeah, there's that will influence, I'm sure, in how we move forward a tiny bit. It's going to be one factor of multiple factors we look at, but getting the balance right in knowing who you have positionally and ability and experience throughout the season is key. In 18, one of the things we struggled with, which was very clear, was the constant change and constant different availability of players. Probably hit us more than any other year and caused some more problems, and it reinforced why we value the way we train and prepare and thriving on relationships and connection between players and positions. In 19, if you know when people are going to be away and when they're going to be here, it's easier. We did well in the Olympics, we did well during the Euros, when you know who is and who isn't going to be around. Last year was more of losing players day before game, or losing players for weeks that we would never anticipate. You know, Sonnet, Menges, AD all missing large stretches. We could never have anticipated that. So I feel that because of this hard challenge and experience, and coming out this year in regular season very well, with a clear picture of who is around and who isn't, I think we can put together a plan that puts us in a strong position, and we'll attack different periods of the season with different objectives. The aim will be what it has been every year, which is fight to be number one, fight to get a shield, and to be hosting a home playoff and winning a championship. You can't do anything else when you're here at the Thorns, and that's what drives that excitement and pressure of that drives me as a person, and keeping and getting people that are driven by that pressure too is key.